I'm going to show you how to turbocharge any vehicle for less than $500. Our subject today is my 1993 Mitsubishi Mighty Max. This is my build. I did this all by myself. It's an art project. So these are the components that I used. And I'm gonna take the time tonight, finally, to give you guys a full explanation on how that works and show you up close in detail exactly what I made here to do this. Because I twin turbocharged this truck and it worked for 3 years with 12 psi boost on a completely stock 4G64 engine, making like 200 horsepower, give or take. It was the most perfect happy accident. So let me review some of these parts and details on how I made that work for you. So here's what I know. I'm not an expert on turbochargers. Let me start with that. But I roughed my way through this and got a crash course on how they work and had so much fun. We'll start with my fuel pump. This little guy right here, $30 fuel pump from eBay. Don't worry about the brand. They all look the same. They're red. They have a positive, a negative, an in, and an out. They make 120 psi of fuel. And they're so cheap that you buy an extra one to keep with you. So 120 psi of fuel is a lot. Why would I need that? There's a fuel regulator, and the reason we're making 120 and regulating it is because I chose to keep my stock injectors, because this is a cheap build and I didn't want to replace the injectors and have to pay for tunes. So to keep my stock injectors, I gave them too much fuel pressure and pushed fuel past them more than what was supposed to be. That is the real ticket to this. I didn't have to pay for tunes. I can afford to do it if I don't have to pay $2,000 for MAP. So the fuel regulator, also $30, also eBay. Not that gauge. I had to search for a gauge that would hold up to this type of work. That brand down there is Measurement, glycerin filled. So this regulator, I turned the 120 psi down to 60 psi with that. The oil, I made my lines out of stainless steel. The valve in that is to regulate my oil inlet. So my oil going in needs to be less than what will overflow those bushings in there. So I used a needle valve to cut down the flow in. I used 3/8 tubing on the way out. I ran that straight down into my oil sump. I welded those stock turbo fittings with a MIG welder straight to a piece of stainless tubing, and it did not leak. I TIG welded that, excuse me. Same here. TIG welded my stainless tube straight to the stock turbo tube. Now then, so we got oil, we got fuel. There's a wastegate. There's plenty of videos on how wastegates work. I used the $30 HKS knockoff. Mildly satisfying chirp sounds, but nothing great. I used a tile wastegate. Sounded cool, but yeah, if you want to know how wastegates work, you can look up that video. Now the turbocharger manifold is what everybody's interested in with this build, because that came out really non-conventional. This is 3/8 flat steel, 1.5" schedule 40 pipe, square tubing, and angle iron. Ignore that fitting in the front. That was for an anti-lag project that didn't work out. So I've welded my turbos straight to this. That is lackluster styling, but it worked great for my build because this cost me nothing. The turbochargers have some exhaust pipe coming out the back of them that's made from the exhaust pipe of other cars, because I didn't have a bender, and that's what I wanted to do. And it just ties into my exhaust down there with some reducers, because I didn't run an aftermarket exhaust on the truck. I just kept it. I just put turbos in it. I did this in one weekend. So I have fuel, I have regulator, I have wastegate. This was wastegate. This was blow-off valve. If you want to know the difference in a blow-off valve and a wastegate, you can search that video up too. This wastegate was 20 bucks on eBay. I made 12 pounds of boost just like that. That's everything except the charge pipe. I don't think anybody's going to duplicate me on that. There's plenty of ways to make an intake pipe. I chose the hardest one. I just used aluminum pipe because it was lightweight. I had it on hand. I have a way to weld it. And I made flat cuts with a chop saw until it made the exact shape that I needed to go in these turbos, which is not like that. That's backwards. All right. I know that may be kind of a sketchy way for me to explain that to you. I hope that's understandable to the guys that need to get it. There's plenty of YouTube content about turbos, but this build was just an interesting one. So I just don't want this to disappear, really. This video is just as much for me as it is for y'all. This was a really, really fun learning experience, like a beautiful learning experience. And how am I going to top it? Like, what's better than making turbo sounds with $200? I've got a 4.6 Mustang engine and full drivetrain. So that's how I'm going to top it. I'm going to get that in there, get it running just right, and then I'm going to want to turbocharge it too because I like that sound. And I'm not going to drag this video on any longer. I just wanted to show that to myself in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed my turbo video. And I filmed this one in landscape mode. So follow me, I'll get better, I promise.